Welcome back to the LEC. Welcome back. G2 tie up the series, and we are back to all even, all square of Fnatic versus G2, meaning we get a minimum of 4 games, and I'm happy. I was a little bit afraid, to be completely honest, that after that first game, we're just going to get a clean 3-0 sweep by Fnatic, but luckily, G2 fought back.
They did, and a lot of it was a change in how they were approaching the draft. A lot of it came into game one was like, we broke that down enough, right? They had quite a risky comp. If they didn't get past a certain threshold, it was going to be this day. This game, however, much more forgiving. And we saw what happened when they did come online. They had multiple items coming online, particularly for the Karma, to keep everyone else topped up. Yeah. And that was obviously a very powerful thing for them.
Yeah, I mean, the Karma pick came out huge for them. I think it was just so annoying to see the big shields on all the G2 members. Like, it looked like everyone was immortal. They could kind of play however they wanted. So I think the extra scaling layer really helped them in this game. I think also just having, of course, a stronger early game. But like this time around, when they had the good early game, they managed to snowball it as well, so it's good to see.
We were watching the draft together, and you actually predicted almost all of it. You're going to be on the draft with me later, and Nymaera as well, so I hope that the 5-head comes out then too. But I want to pick out a couple of things that you brought up, being that you actually didn't particularly like the pick of Hecarim for Yankos specifically, because you like to see him on a champion that has more early game agency. But in that regard, he did play it very well in the early game as well.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think this game was kind of a Diffie in the Jiffy. I think Jankos had an insane performance, and even though Hecarim is not the greatest early ganker, he still has options, right? And I think Jankos used these super well. And then pairing up with the Karma in mid-game, he kind of just rolls over people, gets a bunch of AD from the movement speed, and he looked really comfortable on the Hecarim, to be honest, so I guess I take my word back.
Yeah, and actually I found it really interesting because a lot of this to me was actually, you know, Hecarim normally wants a dive buddy, normally wants to be able to dive in. When we've seen it, a lot of it with Vex. Back in the day, we used to see it with Seraphine as well, actually not that long ago and all that stuff, right? But this one was much more about, let's group up, do the death ball, and just make sure that we can stick all together.
Yep.
There we see the early action coming into play. As you said, Treatz, they didn't have a bad early game in the first game. It was after, but they do get out of some fishy situations.
Yeah, I think that also Hylissang just had one of those games.
I was about to say, like, as much as we've visited a lot of the history of this matchup, that's part which Fnatic might
I gotta say, we were watching a draft also, and of course everyone and their moms could have seen it, that Xayah got picked up, so obviously it was kind of a free Rakan game, even with the bans also. And you said, oh, it's a Hilly Nautilus game, it's gonna be possibly a bad Hilly game. What makes you say that?
I mean, I could just feel it in my bones. I was like, he could have went Rakan, but he picked Nautilus. Is there something wrong?
Something on the wind. It's Hilly Nautilus.
Can we get some medics to check on him? Like, is he okay? Why did he not pick Rakan? I still don't understand it, and I kind of had this feeling that, like, yeah, this is one of those Nautilus games that just, it won't go well.
It won't go well. Of course, it wasn't just on Hilly's shoulder, but the entire team. And we talked a lot about dragon fights and making sure that Fnatic isn't able to stack those dragons as quickly, Nymaera. And as we look at this fight, G2 had a much better read on when to fight, even though this was not an easy fight to win from the get-go.
No, I think actually the key thing about this particular one is look at those chakrams. I mean, we saw actually Flakked play it out very, very well. He had chakram stacked up for like a good 20 seconds. He just kept rolling them up.
This was the wrong one. This was actually really easy to
this
fight.
One,
I meant another fight.
This one was a little bit more eye-candy, just like, wow. That's a lot of Aphelios damage, and it's great to see that, of course. But of course, you can't stand there and fight as the primary damage source unless your front line is doing very well. And BrokenBlade continually made a mess of how Fnatic wanted to dive in.
And how come then G2 was able to snowball so effectively? Of course, in part to this man who kept it going. But Fnatic did have a very good front-to-back teamfighting comp of their own.
Yeah, I think Fnatic also had a comp that wanted to fight front to back, as you said. It's just that when they're behind, their frontline members just kind of die. Like if you're Nautilus and you're hooking into a Hecarim that has a Karma shield and a Braum behind him, you know you're gonna die. So it's just about being behind or being ahead, and I think that G2 now when they're ahead, they were confident walking up, like letting Fnatic engage and just counter-engaging it. So
yeah, it's very much a one-way trip. And again, these just damage margins. You're trying to reach that threshold, and Fnatic fell on the foul side of that this game.
I would like to know, since everyone predicted Fnatic to win, right? What in this win of G2 you see that they could replicate and could let it happen again in the games to give them an advantage in the series?
So I think there are two things which are important to me. I think in this game we saw that there was a strong isolated matchup in the top side where you have where you have BrokenBlade winning the 1v1, and then you have the 4-man unit being solid, being stable, and being very hard to exploit. We saw in that game 1 that wasn't a case where they could kind of sit healthily in a 4-man unit because they were outranged. In this game, though, very, very easy to play it out once you have that side lane advantage, that you can choose how fast you want to play the game. So I think that's what they need to go towards.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think BrokenBlade was the unsung hero of this game. He looked really solid in lane. He brought the enemy jungle towards him multiple times, kept pushing the 1v2 advantage, and kept being a really big nuisance for the enemy. So I think he had a superb game, and I mean, we hyped up BrokenBlade as well, right? And I think this game really proved it.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because we talked so much about how Fnatic like to play and how G2 like to play, but of course it's a bonus for G2 if you get to direct the attention towards the top lane a little bit more so you have more power in that bot lane. I think we're going to take a look at one final fight, and this comp was very reminiscent of old Fnatic comps to me. I think Goldberg called it out, the Karma versus Perks in Copenhagen, Fnatic versus G2, but it's a very AD carry-centric focused composition, right? Because you are setting this Aphelios up for success with the Karma mids, but it worked out, so...
Yeah, I mean, I think that it does help the Aphelios, but it also helps champions like Gnar and Hecarim, right? It's like the Karma shields are good for everyone.
Just annoying.
And everyone loves the Karma shield.
If you have more resist, your HP is harder to take away. Shields make it really hard to kill those
So
guys.
did I get tricked by my own narrativitis there? Because
I mean,
obviously the Karma helps everyone. It doesn't just help the Aphelios.
Who dumped like a 2,000 damage shield?
Yeah, you gotta call me out. But what I do think it is also is that Flakked had a huge game, you know, because he had the responsibility put on them. And maybe there were some question marks. We could dive into that also when we look at the draft. I think we're gonna get the draft of game 1 back up because Fnatic is back on blue side for this next one. With the Zeri ban and whatnot, it made me think, okay, what is in the pocket of the bot lane from G2 specifically, right? Because it doesn't mean that they can't play anything else, but now it's 2 Aphelios games.
Yeah, I think that Fnatic bot lane had a decent draft for game 1. I think, I mean, honestly, both teams, I think, have been happy with all the drafts that have been played so far. I just feel like G2 bot lane shine the most when they're on these consistent, reliable champs. So that's why I would like to see them play. And for Fnatic, I mean, if Upset outscales, he's always a main carry, right? And I think with the resources that they're given in the bot lane, he's always set up to be so. So something like the Zeri Jinx, very, very powerful for him.
And I think this is a question we've had about, you know, how deep does the bot lane champion pool go, in particular with what you're asking there, because we have had a little while off. We've had some patch changes, and we haven't seen vast sweeping changes just yet. Be interesting though, now we are a couple of games in, whether we're going to see a massive change and shift from one of these teams if they feel like something's not clicking.
Yeah, in terms of the patch, even though there were nerfs to like the triumvirate of Zeri and Aphelios and Jinx, Jinx has just been banned away. Aphelios has still been picked and Zeri has still been picked. Treatz, so the stories of their demise were greatly overblown.
Yeah, they were. I mean, we did mention Desire and some misfortune and stuff like that, so I think it's fun to see some more AD carries being played, but obviously the trio of the Jinx, Aphelios, and Zeri are still looking really
Why is
strong.
it always you three?
Why is it always you three? So we are going into Champ Select in just a second, and we'll also be covering that on the desk, so we will be right back. And I'm trolling, because we can actually just talk over all this. We can still talk over this.
Tell us what to talk about. What are you feeling like?
I was going to talk about if Fnatic's maybe... are they now shook, right? Because we said they play through bot lane all the time. Doesn't mean they can't just play through bot lane. But do you expect them to show a different look going into Game 3?
So I think that this is where experience really comes into it as well. We know that there are a lot of experienced members on this, and after their first game win, they're also very looking positive and stuff like that. That doesn't disappear in a single game. I think there were still some good moments for it. As much as it is, you know, easy to say, oh, it's a game loss, what are you going to do about that? They had some really good mid-game team fights too, where they weren't just, you know, giving up. And as we said, maybe it was some execution errors. I think particularly Treatz was wondering about whether Razork could have done a little bit more on that Viego. Sadly, that wasn't the case, but have to see what he can do in Game 3.
Yeah, for sure. I think that Razork had some opportunities this game to finish off some targets, but the ults went a bit wide sometimes, and that made it hard for him to get the reset and keep the fight going. So I would like to see a bit more consistency from Fnatic this game. I think Hilly on one of his more true and tried champions will make a big difference.
So, coming straight into these picks and bans, and of course Fnatic are on that blue side. And this Lucian cropped up a little bit yesterday. We saw that Larson had a great game on that, but not able to see that today.
Yeah, I think that's... Jinx is still the champion that's on my mind, right? I think G2 banned it last time, so I'm wondering if they would just ban the Jinx and Caitlyn again and let the Fnatic first pick the Zeri. I think that's probably their best strategy for going from the red side.
And I think what's actually kind of interesting about the Fnatic bans is that one thing that you were saying about G2 is that they actually prefer, or rather they've performed very well on a lot of the consistent champions. Something like an Aurelia wouldn't necessarily say that is on the same kind of wavelength. However, we have seen BrokenBlade play towards the strong 1v1 and be able to really upset this 1v1 matchup in the side lane.
We're seeing kind of similarities in terms of game one for G2 with the Aphelios and the Nautilus.
Yeah, it's kind of a salty rerun.
Salty run back.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. I mean, I think that honestly Fnatic might change it up a bit here, spice it up. I think last time they went Viego LeBlanc, right?
They did,
if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So they're going for the Volibear this time. I guess they just want some more early pressure. Volibear LeBlanc also
Third
a very
game on a row for LeBlanc.
yeah. I mean, Humanoid has been looking insanely good on LeBlanc even in the last loss. So I think now it's just interesting to see if G2 pick up the jungle or the mid. I think personally I would just pick up the Lissandra here just to get it locked in for Caps because they got banned away last time.
You are going to lose a priority jungler away at that point, of course, a number of them. Actually, I mean, if you think about the really big factor last game of game 2, though, it was actually just having BrokenBlade on such a strong blind pick 1v1 specialist in that Gnar, and of course bring that back. It's actually quite hard to deal with Gnar on this current patch.
Yeah, I think also him picking it on 3 is interesting because Fnatic banned out Aurelia, which is one of the main counters to Gnar. So I think he also does this knowing that he has 2 more bans, so he can potentially have 3 bans and setting up the Gnar. So I think that's really big for him. Yeah, I think that's like Jace. I mean, Jace Aurelia is already enough. He might want to ban something like Camille or some divey champ, but I feel like he'll be confident with only the Jace and the Aurelia ban.
Well, there goes the Lissandra. So the question is now, you know, Caps had an okay game on the Lissandra. Obviously wasn't enough. I believe he was 4-0 LEC all time before that game, went to 4-1.
He was. We haven't seen Caps on like a game where he can take over completely, right? The Lissandra didn't work out in game 1, unfortunately. Then we had the Karma. Is this the game?
Yeah, I was about to say, if you thought back to Lissandra was bad, back to Karma, is that less than step below?
Back to Karma.
When are we going to get some actual agency from Caps, of course? We have to see if that's on the table, because again, one of the things we talked about was the flexibility that both of these teams bring. Caps obviously can play these huge carries if he's put up to the task.
Yeah, he was kind of on a supportive duty so far. I think that maybe he's feeling the carry style as well here, and I think that they should just pick jungle here and save him to last. I think that makes the most sense. So I guess with the jungles open, Jankos might play Lee, might play Viego. I think those are the 2 best junglers open.
And exactly what you wanted in terms of early pressure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Perfect leasing game for Jankos.
But one thing which I'm really interested in now is because the Renata's been banned by G2. Of course, that's something which Hilly has been playing in this series, and it's great at dealing with the dives, great at dealing with low-range champions. If you're not going to have that to deal with G2, who are going back towards, you know, the Nautilus and the Gnar and the Hylissang, which are going straight into your face, getting into low range, not having that Renata removes some of the tools to play out those fights as effectively as we saw again in that game 1 victory.
Yeah, 100%. I think this is looking like another Hylissang Rakan game. I think that they want some more dive potential here with the Camille and Volibear and
Dive?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Braum.
That's not a Rakan.
No, but this is Hylissang's Braum we're talking about. This is a dive Braum. This is not a front-to-back Braum. This is a I will flash forward Braum. So, I mean, Hylissang has played this champ as an engaged slash diver, so I'm not surprised to see
every champ is a dive champ for Hylissang.
Yeah,
it also sets up really nicely for quite early beefy brawling out 3v3s around bot side. Nautilus wants to play around things early, but if you dive into a Braum, soaks up all your damage, gets locked in place, gets taken down. And yeah, the Ahri to round it out, obviously decent, which I'm of course very happy with. I'm a big time Ahri player myself, but Caps picking it into what has been quite a skill matchup before, but also giving a really strong 2v2 for both teams to play around. Now actually mid-jungle is quite an interesting explosive flashpoint.
Yeah, I think that's with the dive comp of Fnatic and kind of the kite back comp for G2. I think they want to play a lot of counter engage here. I think it will be interesting to see what Caps does because he has a lot of agency in this game, I would say, with the Everfrost as well, being able to root all these melee champs from Fnatic. So I think on one side, Fnatic drafts very dive heavy. Other side, G2 has a bit more flexibility. They do have some dive as well, but they're looking to let Fnatic come into them and then kind of counter it.
Are we expecting any shenanigans in that top lane now that Wunder picked up the Camille, or should it be smooth sailing?
I mean, it is a very volatile matchup, so I would expect Fnatic to put some resources into that. I don't think the Zeri Braum has a super high kill pressure. They're kind of scaling, so yeah.
I think what is great about both these teams, both have options to play towards both sides of the map, lots of early potential everywhere. We're in for another real scuffle.
Yes, let's hope so indeed. Fnatic versus G2. Luckily, G2 was able to pick up the second game, meaning we get another 2 games. An interesting draft, very dive heavy, coming out of Fnatic, which usually spells chaos and spells a lot of action for us. Time to get into game 3, Fnatic versus G2.
welcome back to Summoner's Rift for the third time of the day. In about 30 minutes time, one of these teams will be on match point and a date with Rogue in the upper bracket finals. I'm still Medi, he's still Vedi, and that in the middle is still KD.
Not sure about that one, but I'll let it slide.
Well, it's
I'll let
Medi,
that one
KD,
slide.
Vedi. Medi, Vedi, KD?
I still like
Can we speak Medi,
and Mahawk.
That was
You know?
good, actually, yeah.
It's catchy.
I like the harmony in your voice.
Thanks, man. So, Ahri into LeBlanc. I'm super excited. Back in, I forget what season it was. What, like season 3, 4?
Yeah.
This was like the go-to counter matchup, mainly because Ahri's charm could interrupt the dashes. As far as I can tell, Ahri's charm, that actually has been re-added, so it does dashes, because I know for a period of time they removed it, but I'm not sure how reliable my source is. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on it, seeing if it does happen. But typically that mid lane matchup is very dominated by LeBlanc in the early laning phase. Ahri, even after the buff, still has a relatively weak laning phase in terms of her ability to push the wave and actually trade. If she lands a charm, of course, that is slightly different, but very mobile is one of the big things for her. And when you typically go for the Everfrost, it's very effective against things like LeBlanc because you can match her mobility and you can punish her for a lot of her mobility skills later on into the game. So it can be quite skill intensive as you approach the mid to late game.
Yeah, I think a reason why a lot of people doubted Ahri as a champion is the only AP on your team was because you build like a CDR, Everfrosty kind of build. You don't go for Luden, Sork Shoes, like full burst damage. So maybe you lack AP and you don't have as much damage you want from the mid lane. But we saw FLICKR play today in the LCK playoffs. A lot of damage, a lot of setup if you're ahead and you have the right map state, and a lot of playmaking as well, which I think Caps is pretty happy with.
In the top lane, we see Wunder coming out on the wrong side of the initial trade. Missed the tactical sweep, and then the ward in the bush meant that BrokenBlade had a few more autos in. Of course, the ranged into melee matchup does tend to go in favor of the ranged early on. It gives you just that little bit of extra harass. And Humanoid winning out mid as he got that level 2 first.
Yeah, a lot of setup from the Fnatic mid jungle. Even early dives are a possibility if Caps takes bad trades. It's a very simple stun into EW from the Volibear with an auto attack. LeBlanc burst. He's pretty much dead. Yankos will hover around, but I think G2's mid jungle a lot stronger at level 6.
In the case, also keeping my eyes on bot lane once again. Upset and Hylissang have the push. So far this series has been, if you're a blue side bot lane, you have the push. And once again, Hylissang will look to gain a little bit of information as to what Jankos is up to. I think they did spot that out. Pings were coming down onto the blue. Not sure if they actually saw Jankos though, but they are definitely cautious. And you can see the pathing of Razork up towards the top side of the map. Sneaking around this vision, but he is going to walk in this wall, but maybe it doesn't matter.
Razork looking for this big wave, as you say. Wunder's going to tank it. BrokenBlade could look to get the double bounce in here. Razork chasing forward, gets the stun, brings down the lightning as well. Double bounce away from BrokenBlade. The flash chase is available for Wunder. Flash away from BrokenBlade. The counter flash from Wunder will mean that Razork gets first blood.
So BrokenBlade tried to make the outplay happen because Wunder was only level 2 and he had such a big wave that he thought he could kite through it. Razork got on a burst out and BrokenBlade didn't flash the initial burst from Razork. He decided to jump it instead and save his flash to try to outplay Wunder, but it's Wunder who comes out on top. Great setup there from the Fnatic top jungle. Wunder lost a couple creeps there, but the wave is in such a good state for him right now.
It certainly is. BrokenBlade choosing not to use his TP because the wave is underneath the tower. We'll hold that for a while, but Wunder is in such a powerful position, as you already highlighted, Caedrel. With the wave in a state like that, they could even threaten a dive on the next bounce back, given that there is no flash. Targamas now goes in.
No, not in the best of shapes. Upset's going to jump across the wall here. Ignites go down on either side, but Upset and Hylissang will just disengage.
They have a big wave. Caps is running down. Yankos is as well. Upset still has heal and they have no ignite, so a little bit of survivability. Razork is trying to find his way to the bot side as well. See how big the wave
TP
is.
from Humanoid to mid here.
Making a beeline. I don't know if this is going to work out though. But
They're going to go for it though. The wave's too thin, I think. Yeah, it was thinned out. I think the way the wave crashed as they were running through mid.
Yeah, I think they go next wave. I think they go next wave. Caps look for the charm. Couldn't quite land it. If it had hit, I think they would have still gone for that dive.
Very bad play here from G2 because nothing happened, and now Fnatic are the ones in the driver's seat because Caps still needs to base and TP back mid. Yankos hasn't based at all yet, and his top side camps are respawning. So look at the jungle situation. You've got Razork on his second respawn, and he's already based. Yankos still yet to base and is on the right side of the map to get the second respawn. Looks like they're going to go towards mid and help Caps catch the wave before he has to TP back. Help him get an early.
Maybe they want to avoid Caps even investing the TP at this point.
Look at the map state though, because now Razork's running to Yankos' Raptors. He knows that he's got the base advantage. Level advantage not in Yankos' favor anymore. Humanoid has mid push too, so G2 kind of pushed back a lot here. They need to get bases in soon on their mid jungle.
See, that's why Targamas came across to help Caps make sure he could thin out this waves. Caps will now back and try and get the TP before that wave crashes to his tower. Razork continues to be a nuisance, though, in the G2 jungle.
Yeah, and it all comes back to what Caedrel's talking about. They know the item advantage that they have. They know that G2 hasn't had that opportunity to spend their gold yet, and Fnatic is just trying to push as much as possible. Support's now on their way to top.
Razork has no flash. Targamas is here first, but Humanoid the first to respond as well as Caps has TP'd into the mid lane. He won't be able to join this fight, but Flakked will as he joins the fray as they look for the turnaround. BrokenBlade not here yet. Humanoid already got one. The second is Yankos concussive blow. Tactical sweep. Wunder takes down his former jungler. And now BrokenBlade forced away. Caps with a flash charm, though. They'll get one in response. No level 6 yet on the Ahri means that this chase likely won't go any further, but Flakked wants it to. Graviton with the root on 3 members of Fnatic. Caps still chasing forward. The charm a possibility. Razork not quite slowed by the boomerang blade. And because of that, Fnatic will be able to disengage. Caps, though, now caught out.
No flash.
Lands the charm. Humanoid flashes forward. And one more auto and the chains is enough for Humanoid to claim the kill.
This is all a 2-minute sequence, and it all comes off the back of G2 trying to dive bot. It ends up stopping around the top side of the map, but the biggest winner here is Upset, who stayed bot, crashing a huge wave. Big experience advantage to him, and Fnatic still win out on the top side. Massive early game lead for them.
This whole play could decide the game. Like, that was so monumental for Fnatic and G2. They got punished so hard. Look at this, a 2.5k gold lead already. And it just comes off the back of exactly what you were saying, Caedrel. That initial play from G2 and Razork pushing his item advantage.
This is a good example of tempo. We won't break down the fight, we'll break down what actually happened, because G2 used their tempo bot to make a play. Then they run mid to try to defend, but Fnatic are the ones one step ahead. They have the turn, and G2 are trying to defend it. Then Fnatic run top. They tried to make their turn happen top, and G2 tried to defend it again. Tempo doesn't work like that. You have to give something up. So Yankos should have based. Cap should have based a bit early, and they should have given up a wave on either top or mid to make sure they can stabilize the early game. Otherwise, things like this will happen. Fnatic will just capitalize and keep trying to find that play until they find what they want, and it does work out in the end. Flakked flashing forward there. Does get the root onto Razork, but his Q was still up because he got stunned, so he can use it again.
And at this point, well, before this point, when they were at the tri-bush, is when G2 should have just disengaged. They should have backed off, but it almost felt like desperation that they needed to get something back. They overcommit so much to chasing them down, and that meant that Flakked lost, what, 2 waves, maybe even 3 in the bot lane. I know the CS discrepancy isn't massive just yet, but once Upset catches this wave, you'll notice it'll be about 10, maybe even 15 in Upset's favor. So Flakked end up losing a lot. Humanoid is now sitting at 2-0-1. The top side of the map is heavily advantageous for Fnatic, and all across the board, G2 now finds himself in a very difficult position.
Counts to the charm, Yankos with the chase as well. Good dodge back from Humanoid. Razork's on his way, but Targamas is coming up. Humanoid, no flash, remember, from the initial play. They're going to try and turn it back around onto Caps, who will fall, gets another charm out of his ultimate there, but he's still going to be ignited and will be chased down by Hylissang. Razork dived in. Hylissang will get a counter kill, 2 for 1.
Caps was so close to getting a reset there, a heal, and maybe being able to dash away. Such good play from him on the Ahri. Nice dash, kind of fancy footwork from Humanoid to dodge around and survive, but G2 finds something in this early game that went so disastrously wrong for them.
I'm impressed that Caps was able to find that punish, and the rotations that we saw from the bot lane of G2. Flakked has been very willing to sack his lane to assist everyone else on the map, but let's have a look at this initial play. Humanoid dashes in, goes for a bit of a trade, uses both of his dash skills, and Caps sees this is his window to strike.
Charm hits, Yankos Q gets dodged away from by Humanoid, and then in comes Razork. He goes in to try and burst down Caps, but doesn't get the initial damage, and then Caps gets the reset on Humanoid, gets the heal and dashes across. Now, keep your eyes on the animation of Razork's death. Now watch Caps, he's very low. Razork dies, and watch the little blue orb that flies through the air. You see, it almost reached Caps. If that did, it would have been a 2 for 0.
Of course, that blue orb, when Ahri gets a kill, her ultimate resets. She gets 1 more charge out of it, and she gets a heal as Wunder is caught out in the top lane, flashes away from Yankos. Dragon's Rage, not an option for the G2 jungler.
Okay, so Yankos looking for another pick on the map. G2 not perturbed by the fact that their early game did not go the way that they wanted. Fnatic, of course, still in the driver's seat. And Upset has been free farming this entire time, but Yankos not slowing down. In game 1, we didn't see a lot of early game action. It was actually very tame for the first 10 minutes. I heard Yankos speaking just before this game where he felt like, you know, maybe I just didn't play that Hylissang good enough, you know? He gets himself, again, you can see he's being super proactive on the map, constantly looking for picks, looking for plays, trying to get G2 back into that driver's seat.
Yeah, 8 kills right now, but no neutral objectives taken just yet. A couple bot plates for Upset because of the extended play in top, but Herald is up, and so is Dragon. Humanoid almost finds a chain onto Caps to get a little bit of a trade in. How do the teams want to dissect the map now? Because Yankos is moving towards the Herald. BrokenBlade's running there too, but Upset's going in top.
Upset can just, Flakked, the root's going to come down, but Upset will have all of this movement speed to chase him down. Upset with a solo kill in the bottom lane.
That opened up bots for them, and now Fnatic could move their support towards the top side. It could be a 4v4.
Chains onto Caps, he's going to charm away. Spirit Rush used. Targamas here, but first though, as Razork doesn't have the Stormbringer, he's going to get rooted up, locked down. Hylissang trying to join the fray, the kickback. Razork's still alive somehow. The lightning called down, gave him the shield, and now Wunder diving in. Hexagon made him pop by him, but G2 still alive. Disengage from Fnatic, maybe a re-engage as Upset's going to join the fray. G2 continue to push forward. Willing to allow Fnatic complete control over this Rift Herald, but as they see Upset join, they might have to. Targamas dash back in. Wunder sweeps him away as he will fall. Flakked's going to join the fight, but Jankos is being chased out by Humanoid. 2 more kills. Over to Fnatic. Make it more as they Stormbringer under the tower. Hylissang diving in that tower, doing nothing for G2. Humanoid with a double. Wunder with a double, and G2 routed in the top lane.
Oh, when it rains, it pours. This early game is a disaster for G2. 10 kills in 10 minutes. Upset so far ahead on the Zeri. Humanoid so far ahead. Everyone is just so fed right now. Upset even getting the solo kill, collapsing towards the top side, 2 levels up. Herald on this top tower. Everything going in Fnatic's favor.
G2, they wanted to contest that Herald. The fact that they started it off was already in a difficult position as they were being collapsed on from multiple sides. They thought that because Targamas got there earlier that they could actually secure the objective first, but Fnatic, once again, just outplaying them around these objectives. It's exactly what we saw in Game 1, around these early objectives when these skirmishes were kicking off, was when Fnatic was able to get the edge. The fact that Upset also found a solo kill in the bot lane. Let's have a look back at this once more.
Yeah, Caps gets the initial charm to Razork, but he has no ult, no flash. I thought he was going to die here straight up, but gets the shield. Does manage to survive across the side, and now G2, their jungler's also extremely low. Caps has no ultimate. What they're waiting for here is they're waiting for BrokenBlade's Mega Gnar. Maybe they think they can turn it, but look at his ult cooldown. They're waiting for that to come up, and they realize Upset's already here, so they have to back away. They look for a minor turn onto Hylissang while they're doing the Herald, but they lose the fight. Wunder has no flash.
The charm still connects from Caps. Wunder underneath the tower, though. Safe as houses for the moment. Caps chases him in, takes 2 tower shots, and is able to get back out with that extra charge on the Spirit Rush.
That was hot. That's what that was. That was very, very nicely done from Caps. We've already seen him land some very smooth charms, but once again, Upset. If there are plates on the map, he will be acquiring them. Fnatic continue to extend their gold lead, now 5k. G2, I respect their proactiveness. The moment we come out of a replay, it feels like we're immediately back into the action as G2 is looking for a pick somewhere on the map, but Fnatic, they're not giving up their control. While Wunder did fall short, notice that Humanoid was pushing in the top wave, Upset was pushing in mid, he was even catching that farm, and Fnatic are just doing everything they can to just funnel as much gold onto their carries as they continue to press their advantage.
Yeah, beautiful mechanics from Caps on the Ahri, but Fnatic just dominating in these fights. Wunder has ultimate, Caps doesn't. He sees him across this wall, he is alone, Jankos is around. He's going to decide to back off. Wunder, interesting kind of lane assignment going on here. Wunder's matching Caps. Humanoid's pushing in top against BrokenBlade, and Upset, Razork and Hilly are all down towards the bot side. We'll see how G2 decide to play out this map because they've got TP on BrokenBlade coming up soon. Dragon started by Fnatic. That's going to be free for them. Yeah, G2 have no pushing lanes at all to work with.
Fnatic now 5,000 gold ahead at the 13-minute mark. We'll take the first Dragon of the game here. And I wonder if they're just putting Upset down towards this bottom lane because there's more plates for him to acquire and easier plates for him to acquire. He got a bunch in the top lane, now already taken 3 down towards bot side. And he continues to accelerate this gold lead. He's even on farm with Flakked, but if we switch over to the gold, we will see he is 1,400 gold ahead on this Zeri.
Yep, Upset is pretty strong, and we're kind of looking at a repeat of Game 1 as Fnatic go all in.
Flakked knocked up, concussive blows, a possibility. Upset looking for it underneath the tower. He's rooted. The Inferno, Upset low. The final tower shot takes him out. Razork chasing in here as well. They will answer 1 for 1. The Sonic Wave just wide from Jankos.
1 for 1 in the end. Both junglers show up. Upset getting a little bit too fancy with the feet work there. Just going a bit too deep. Gets hit by the hook anyway. Thought he had the kill onto Flakked. I mean, he was 2 levels up. I can see why they went for the all-in, but good hook by Targamas. Gets the 1 for 1. Won't get the tower, but I think they should be able to get it on the next couple waves when they move towards that bot side of the map. Humanoid's already there. They're going to secure that tier 1, and then mid lane will be the next one to fall.
So now they're moving Humanoid down towards the bot side of the map. I wonder if they were keeping him up towards the BrokenBlade matchup, because by going for the armor boots early, he's running very little magic resistance, and Humanoid can basically one-pop him, especially with the Ludens now completed. But Fnatic continue to be in a commanding position. Bot lane trade ended up being still 1 for 1, as you mentioned. And yeah, we're kind of like looking at the map state right now, and Fnatic are in control. And I think it's really interesting how this series has kind of transpired and how single decisions can be very, very monumental. We saw a very similar case in Game 1. G2 was actually very good at neutralizing the events that occurred in Game 2, and their stronger comp allowed them to scale better into the late game where they were winning out on team fights. But once again, Fnatic with their strong pushing lanes with their early proactive style. It's getting them the early advantages once more. The question is, can G2 stall out for some potential late game fights that can maybe swing the game in their favor? But even then, do they have the tools to lock upset down? Can the Ahri leverage her mobility when the Camille can potentially lock you down? Fnatic have a lot of tools in their kit to be able to limit a lot of G2's options.
Yeah, just looking at topside drafts alone from both teams, it requires a lot of outplay potential, a lot of mobility. You know, Camille, LeBlanc, Gnar, Hylissang, Ahri, a lot of kind of mechanical prowess is what gets you leads, and G2 don't have any reliability scaling to fall back on, barring maybe the Aphelios, but I feel like right now Fnatic's just kind of running away with it, and their scaling is pretty good. I mean, Camille will always win against the Gnar, LeBlanc should always win out against the Ahri unless Caps can find some plays, so I think it's a case of G2 just grouping up, trying to find picks, similar to what Fnatic were trying to do last game. And Fnatic making sure they don't give them those picks, play for dragons, play for neutrals, push out sides, and try to group up around the mid lane.
Only issue for Fnatic is how late they took that first dragon. Still 2 minutes on the second dragon of the game, meaning we'll be 27, 30 minutes into the game before we see that possible soul. And the question is whether G2 will give them opportunities on the rest of the map to find some more picks and continue to accelerate this gold lead, because if G2 can hold the line for a little bit, perhaps they can find a way back into the game.
Just want to remind viewers as well, if you have just joined us, this is only our first round of playoffs. We still have many more games to go in the future. G2 and Fnatic currently fighting in the upper bracket, fighting for a spot to face against Rogue next week in the upper bracket. The loser will move down into the lower bracket, and depending on who loses will depend on where they end up going. So I'm not going to get too deep into that, but 1-1 is the series right now. We've had a pretty interesting series where Fnatic currently lead, and still very tense. Always a banger whenever we have Fnatic versus G2 hitting the Rift.
And, a difficult road for BrokenBlade to walk out of this one. Hylissang went the long way round, Upset's here to join the party, and BrokenBlade locked up, stunned up, and the gifted kill over to Upset in the end. Zaps him down. Flakked as well, perhaps the target, as he's going to try and get away. Targamas though going to hook up Wunder, and Wunder really a little bit too deep, a little bit too greedy there from the Fnatic top laner. He will fall as Jankos takes down the kill.
You can see the idea though from Wunder with Humanoid sitting over the wall. They thought that they could catch out Flakked with no flash available to him. They thought they could get that kill. They were not expecting all those G2 members to be sitting in that bush, primed and ready to punish Wunder for his execution. So good response from G2, but I understand the idea.
Very, very risky though in a kind of split map scenario where you invest members top to shut down their top laner. Of course, all of G2 will be there, but goes for the E-Flash anyway. Humanoid's here to defend his bot tier 1 because he wants to shut down the cross map from G2. He might get dove. Wunder has TP. He is running towards the bot lane. That ward could be a TP ward.
There's the charm. There's the Everfrost. Humanoid just rooted up and shut down. Wunder is going to TP in. The Yankos is here to dissuade Wunder from taking that fight. Now the bounty picked up in the bottom lane as well for G2. A fight happening off towards the top side as BrokenBlade is forced away by Upset. Targamas continuing to trade with Hylissang.
Yeah, Wunder didn't have ultimate in that TP, so even if he E'd onto Caps, he would just dash away, and then he would be dead as well. A bit greedy from Fnatic to try to make a play top, get a kill, get a tower, and then try to defend a bot tier 1. In the end, they don't get anything top apart from that kill, and they just give up a kill themselves in bot lane and a tower, so kind of winning play for G2 there.
And this is what G2 need, right? When they find themselves at this type of deficit, leveraging Ahri's great pick potential to catch targets off guard will buy G2 a little bit more time. I think the good news for G2 as well is that Drakes have been very late in this game. So the threat of that Dragon Soul is going to be much later into the game, and they can afford to give up the second Drake.
Yeah, and what do they do when they give it up? They have to cross-map. Pings on top wave already. We're going to see a very similar story to what we just saw in bots, where G2 is going to put members top, get a top tier 1, get some objective bounties. Humanoid's there to defend, Wunder shadowing. So they're going to try to defend again, but luckily for them, G2 aren't even there to try and get it. They're just going to give it up, not going to trade for anything. They didn't really have the setup on the map to do so, and Humanoid will safely catch the top wave. Second dragon across. Ocean Soul is 10 minutes away for Fnatic, and G2 need to get a little bit more gold in their pockets if they want to try to contest the next dragon.
Now starting to build up towards these second items. Caps already obviously with the Everfrost, but the bounties help them out a little bit to get them back within about 4,500 gold. Still a massive lead for Fnatic. They are still in a very strong position, but G2 have shown us they can find a couple of these picks, and if they can continue to do that, perhaps they can find a way to fight back against Fnatic.
Right now, just a lot of posturing. Of course, no dragon up available for G2 to secure, so they're just going to push in that wave. Humanoid being left on an island in the top. G2 just trying to protect and cover towards the strong side of the map right now. Bit of contention around this bot side jungle. Yeah, the game definitely slowed down as we approach the 20-minute mark. Herald's going to be dropped mid. Fnatic trying to open up the map just that bit.
Yeah, that's their last objective. Both side lane towers down, no neutrals, just play for this mid-tier one. It's what they've been trying to do over the last couple of minutes, and it will eventually fall. Humanoid's hovering around the top side jungle just in case Caps tries to rotate down and defend. Has TP if he really wants to, but that Herald will just take it down. Now Wunder can go back to his bot wave, and they can push out sides again and keep collapsing mid and look for anyone on G2 who tries to step up on these mid waves, get the pick and then go Nash. Otherwise, they will control the entire map. G2 have to group up if they want to try to find anything.
And G2 obviously had to give up that mid lane tower, not only because the Rift Herald was coming in, but they didn't have vision in their own red side jungle, meaning Humanoid could come down and find a flank position. They only had that single ward, and the devastation that Humanoid can wreak on this LeBlanc, currently 4-2-2 with the Ludens complete. He would absolutely shred through your backline if he's ever able to find that flank position. For the moment, Fnatic doing a very good job of just continually starving G2 out of the game. They're just taking the advantages they can get. They're never overstepping for them, and it's what you want to see in this sort of position for your team. You want them to be methodical. You want them to not give the opposition a chance to fight back.
Well, I think that in game one, Fnatic, because they were so accelerated in terms of the Drakes and they were able to secure both Heralds, basically the objective control for them made it easier for them to snowball. Now they're in a bit of a lull because with the Dragon gone,
you have to wait 5 minutes.
You kind of, yeah, you're constantly in that waiting period. So given that same level of control around these early neutrals means that you can't already attack the tier 2s, means that for now Fnatic is just controlling waves, controlling vision, and now we'll start to slowly see them push that vision deeper and deeper to try and steal more and more away from G2.
And previous iterations of Fnatic would go for those aggressive dives, would try to force the kind of lead and snowball it a lot faster, but I think what we're seeing here from a different version of Fnatic is just patience. They don't have to blow the game wide open, they're not on a timer, they're winning the objective game, they're keeping map control. It's all about not making mistakes, keeping G2 under their towers, and patience is what they need to have, and just not overextend. Shutdowns would be horrible. I mean, if they give a couple kills over to G2 and Caps Zeri gets ahead, then they can start contesting these side waves, your map state's just falling apart.
And again, we're seeing that what we just talked about now, right? Pushing in through the mids, moving into the bot jungle. Wunder maybe in a bit of danger here, but the pings are coming through. Wunder disengages, and we've heard from players like Upset give a lot of the credit to Humanoid. We've mentioned it before. He is that kind of mid-game mastermind, often on the Mad Lions. They were so credited, actually, for their mid-game movements and also their fantastic team fighting. And it feels like that level of control could very well come from the current reigning LEC champion in Humanoid himself. Let's see, Fnatic now. Dragon going to be spawning in about 1 minute and 20 seconds. They have control over top, setting up a bit of vision around Baron. And G2 just kind of forced to catch what they can grab.
Humanoid, of course, only one of 2 players that can actually retain the LEC title. Him and Kazi both left the Mad Lions, both have a shot of making it back to the finals, although we'll see how Vitality are able to match up against Excel tomorrow. For the moment, we still have at least a couple more games of this series, but it's looking very much like Fnatic are going to take us to match point. They just have to continue to suffocate G2 out of this game.
TP from Humanoid in bot. Probably just trying to push in the wave and make sure that this Dragon is as good, as secure as possible. I mean, G2's options, what are they? They can't really push up mid, they can't push up bot because Humanoid's already there. They could look for some kind of Baron. I think that's what Fnatic are aware of now. Just hovering around there, put a pink in the pit, get a little bit of sneaky vision around it, and then just set up this Dragon. I'm expecting Wunder to take over bot later on with the TP when they start playing for Baron, but you can see how both teams are posturing. How does G2 respond to Fnatic's pressure?
I mean, an issue for G2 is even if you do manage to find a pick, you've now got a QSS on Upset as well. So if you charm him, if you root him, if you lock him down, he can just QSS and get out of it. And we've seen how precocious Zeri can be in a team fight, how difficult she is to keep under wraps. Wunder in a great position for the flank. Targamas actually nowhere near his team. He's all the way back, clearing out vision. Humanoid dashing forward. Wunder looking for Yankos, going to lock him away from the fight. And now with Dragon spawning, Fnatic have control of the bottom side of the map.
BrokenBlade close to Gnar. G2 look like they really want to fight this. They were pushing up mid so deep. Fnatic responding with all 5 of their members to push them back. Now going in towards the bot side river. G2's Nash is not the fastest, but if Fnatic give them a window, they probably are going to take it. And with BrokenBlade basing, I think he's just going to catch bot wave. That might just be it, unless he wants to TP back, and they really want to force this. G2 held my breath for a second there. Thought they might start it. Have Targamas in a flank position to turn.
I think Fnatic made the correct play there. Just leave Razork solo to clear the Drake. Send the remaining members to go towards mid. If it suggests that G2 is starting off that Baron, they can at the very least stall until Razork arrives. Go for the fight around the Baron, but they will just take the Drake. They will take a couple more waves. They will deny more jungle away from G2. Slow, steady is the game plan for Fnatic. Now they could look to set up for a Baron, but they don't need to. It is, of course, a bit risky if you can't find a fight, but I imagine that deeper vision contest is what we'll continue to see from Fnatic as they continue to stranglehold more out from G2, whereas G2 just trying to pick up anything on the map, trying to get any gold into their back pockets, get a few more items, because that just increases their chances of finding comebacks into the game.
And I thought with this third dragon, objective bounties would come back for G2. They still don't have any. They had them earlier on, but they've disappeared and they haven't come back just yet. So I think they just want to crack open this top tier 1, make sure they get a couple more altars. I think this mid tower will be pretty much impossible to take if Fnatic are always on the map, but some kind of cross map would help. Problem is, it's on the side of Baron, and that's the side Fnatic's always controlling, so their options are very, very limited. Objective bounties are now back for G2, so that helps them a little bit when they do play for those towers. But for now, they're just on wave clear duty. But again, yeah, like you said, Vedi, timer's ticking.
3.5 minutes on the clock for G2. You really feel they have to find a fight either around the Ocean Soul or before it, find a pick perhaps. Humanoid continues to be a thorn in their side as he dashes forward, dashes back in that jungle, and you can see Fnatic just setting up his 4 here, making sure that G2 really don't have an avenue to approach this mid lane. Caps, of course, can step a little bit more aggressively. He's got the Spirit Rush to get back out, but Humanoid very happy, just jump forward, hit him with a Sigil, and then jump back to the safety of the rest of his team.
Mid wave crashing. They can move into bot wave if they want to. Fnatic could just push this next wave in, move on to Wunder's wave and try to hit this tier 2. The problem Fnatic have in sieging is they only have 2 range champions. They have 3 champions that want to dive, melee brawlers that just want to get in there. And that's not optimal when G2 are just kind of wave clearing and grouped up, because then you're committing to a full dive, and yes, you can disable a tower, but only for so long. Wunder trading onto BrokenBlade, Caps behind him. Might be a fight here.
Yeah, Spirit Rush forward. Wunder does have the flash, but the Everfrost into the root is going to catch out Wunder. Humanoid now by himself as Jankos look for it. Humanoid was able to dash across the wall, but that's a good pick for G2. Slows down the game a little bit. Doesn't really get them too much because the objective's still 2.5 minutes away.
Not really much on the map for G2 to grab, as you rightly said, Medic. There is the potential Baron contest, or at the very least trying to get some vision, but instead they're reclaiming their bot side of the map. We've seen Wunder now get caught off on a side lane just a little bit, but the good news for Fnatic is that it really won't result in very much. If anything, Humanoid can now get himself a little bit more farm because he can get 2 lanes worth rather than just the 1. Props to him as well. It was mentioned on the Analyst desk, but we need to mention it again. 3 back-to-back games of LeBlanc, 3 very impressive performances on LeBlanc. We already talked about how exciting this mid lane matchup is. I think we got to see some really great Ahri mechanics from Caps this time around, but it really does feel like that Humanoid is just on a tear in playoffs. And it's always funny to me when I think about him as a player, because I know during the regular season, he's actually someone that's kind of debated around his skill as a mid laner, you know? Ooh, hang on, Flakked.
As the Gale Force won't get stunned, just expires. Dragon's Rage kick was used though by Jankos to make sure that disengage well and truly went through.
Timer's ticking though. 1 minute 30 seconds on the Dragon. Fnatic are going to set up around that very, very soon. BrokenBlade top with TP. He's just trying to get the push out for now.
So as we kind of go back into that lull, I'll go back to what I was saying.
Yeah, do it.
Humanoid, during the regular season, I feel like he kind of just takes it like very chill, you know?
Yeah.
He's kind of like, he's very similar to Perks in terms of his approach, but then when playoffs comes around, I feel like we see peak Humanoid. And I remember last year when they won the back-to-back championships, like his Victor was so incredible, his Orianna was so incredible, like he was a monster on so many different champions, and playoffs is really where we get to see him. So it also makes me excited to see Perks, of course, tomorrow. His playoff buff, very well renowned. We have a lot of mid laners in Europe that seem to get puffs.
Marcoon. Yeah. I mean, we've got Caedrel in this. We have to talk about Excel.
Let's leave that for now, boys.
But yeah, always an enjoyable player to watch. But of course, we talk a lot about Fnatic this game because they are in the driver's seat. They pretty much have been. Wunder could be caught out here, but no.
No, he's not. Jankos is the one caught out. Jankos went very deep. Dragon's Rage kick did just come off cooldown, but that was a very aggressive play from Jankos.
Extremely over-aggressive. Wunder had summoners up. Maybe he thought he was isolated, but the problem G2 have is Jankos' respawn timer is the same as the Dragon spawn timer, so that Dragon is as good as gone. Unless G2 fancy themselves a 4v5, which I highly doubt, there's really no way they can contest it. They just have to sit back and watch this soul fall. They can't even force Nash. They can't really pressure any lanes. Fnatic know how much control they have on the map right now. And that is, as much as Fnatic were in the driver's seat for this entire game, that's pretty much game deciding, because they've got an Ocean Soul for Fnatic the entire game long and a Rabadon's Death Cap on Humanoid.
No grievous wounds really on G2 either. Only the Ignite for Targamas, so this will be the Ocean Soul secured. Caps perhaps looking for a pick here. Does land the charm onto Razork, but Razork always has, you know, Flash, Stormbringer to get out of here, even going the Zonya's second on this Volibear. alongside that turbo cam tank just gives him that little bit more safety. This will be the Ocean Dragons and the Soul secured for Fnatic. Humanoid looking for the damage here on the BrokenBlade. Dodges away from the Gnar as the Ocean is secured. BrokenBlade still unable to find anything on this Gnar this game.
G2 trying to get that tower back, get a little bit more gold, but they cannot. They will be denied once again by Humanoid. He is so strong right now. Upset, go back to base, reset back out onto the map, and now the Baron dance will begin. Many G2 members need to reset. Fnatic, they could just start this one up if they want to, but no, they're going to take their time. They realize the value in taking that. The thing is, Caedrel, maybe you can comment on this. When you're in a series like this, rather than rushing and make those mistakes, I feel like G2, they know that they're in a very difficult situation. Maybe they're already thinking about game 4. Maybe they're already thinking about the next one, right?
I think when Baron falls is when they're probably going to start thinking about that. I mean, maybe they thought Fnatic was going to start that up, but Hilly had 4 wards in his inventory, so they've warded G2's jungle. It's basically, if they get Baron and they get an ace, maybe they can win, but yeah, it's all on Fnatic to make a mistake. They're just waiting for it. It's once you all die is when you start talking about the next game, because you just have to watch your next explode. May as well take that time to do it. Now, G2, they have Mega Gnar, Humanoids on the side. Caps investing the ultimate.
BrokenBlade going in as well, Spirit Rush going forward. Humanoid dodges back, kicked away, and he will be shut down. G2 find him, and maybe they can look for more. Caps dives in with the Spirit Rush, but he's got one to get back out. He's got the flash, they're going to keep the Baron aggro, as you say. Razork dives in, look at the Caps, they'll take him out. Wunder in the midst of it all, as well as the Infernum goes down. Yankos trying to heal himself up from the Baron. Stopwatch coming out, Upset, unrelenting, free, just to put all the damage down that he wants. Razork will take him, the Baron secured by Upset and by Razork, and Fnatic, even though Humanoid was down, still find the fight to keep G2 at bay.
That looked like a very tense situation for Fnatic. After losing Humanoid, it was looking dicey. Caps made the decision to keep the Baron low so that maybe G2 could steal it and buy themselves more time, but the moment Upset joined the fight and Razork locked onto his target, it was all lights out for G2.
Yeah, they had nothing left to stop Upset, and now they're going to push in through top. They have a wave. There's around 15 seconds on Yankos, 10 seconds on Caps. Fnatic are going to have to back off eventually, but they get themselves a Baron, they get 4 kills, and I mean, it was a good initial pick for G2. Just focus one target. They know the Baron's going down, but the longer they leave Humanoid here, the worse it's going to get if they commit into this Baron, because he's just going to flank them. So they managed to kill him because he has no flash, and now Caps over-aggressively dives in to keep the Baron alive because he knows they need Baron to win this game. If they just back off now, they won't get anything. Maybe they can get a top tier once. They have to force to play. Flakked commits into the pit to try and help his team by flashing forwards, but then it's all eyes on Upset. Razork survives with the stopwatch, and then Upset just pushes everybody out.
And Yankos used his smite earlier in the fight to just get a little bit of HP back, which means he didn't have it available in that final exchange. Also, when he threw the Q out to maybe even secure the Baron, it actually ends up hitting the Volibear. You can see the disappointment and frustration on Yamato's face. Remember, his expectations are winning the split. Anything else is a failure, so he has high standards for his team. And he's going to be having a chat with them about that one afterwards.
A bit too close for comfort. Baron could have gone in G2's favor. Maybe if BrokenBlade got out, they could hold on a bit longer for an Elder Flip. And then an Elder Flip, doesn't matter what soul you have, doesn't matter what gold you have. Because that buff is so powerful now. Fnatic sieging onto this bot tier 3.
And G2 just trying to find a way to defend. Baron buff remains for Fnatic. Double cannons here as well to help them with this siege. Mid lane wave, not buffed up. Wunder doesn't have the Baron, of course, did die. It remains on the majority of Fnatic. They take down their first inhibitor. The wave cleared in the mid lane means that they won't have another wave to push forward with. They still have a little while before this Baron will entirely expire.
Yeah, 1 minute left on the Baron. That's around 2 waves that they can play on. They're going to have this cannon wave coming in now for mid, and maybe they can use another one as well if they want to stay on the map. Wunder has TP and so does Humanoid. Top wave is slow pushing into G2, so that's a wave they can rotate into later on. But again, they won't have Baron for that, so it looks like they're going to force down mid. Razork a bit split.
He's going to try and turn the damage back onto BrokenBlade. Yankos does have the flank position here, but they realize perhaps they need to save their mid lane instead. Razork just chasing BrokenBlade down. The damage of Volibear can do. The Sonic Wave hits the cannon. I mean, Yankos will be thankful for the gold, but not really the target he was looking for, as Razork just fights off 2 members of G2 and the inhibitor in the mid lane falls.
There's the TP top to make sure they can push this top wave in. Fnatic aren't done yet. Bot to mid to top is what we're going to see. Razork got a little bit chunked, but they have Ocean Soul. He hits the wave. He's back to full HP. And now, if Fnatic want to, they can just all in on this top tower. They can disable it. They have 10 seconds left on Nash. I don't think... Maybe they can have the wave buffed up just for the initial siege, but with the waves coming in, I think that's going to be a bit difficult. But either way, they can just dive it if they want to.
Caps trying to defend. Upset dodges away. Has the GA now as well. The inhibitor tower there. Target hook goes down, but Razork goes in. They're looking for the damage here underneath the inhibitor tower. It's already fallen as Fnatic continue to advance. One down as Targamas has fallen. The second follows up. The Gnar back won't save you now. BrokenBlade, the last man standing for G2, as Fnatic wipe them away in their own base and will take game 3 of the series.
These early games are so deciding and so explosive in the Fnatic wins. G2 just can't find a way back in because Fnatic won't give it to them. Wunder diving into the fountain. Hylissang as well. 2 kills for BrokenBlade. Scoreline looks pretty good now.
The scoreline may look good, but the only scoreline that matters is at the top of the screen. 2-1 Fnatic.
Fnatic with a very dominant early game, punishing that single decision from G2 so effectively, and then G2 in a bit of desperation to try and get something back, overcommit, makes it even worse, and then you find upset super fed, Humanoid with 2 kills, everything falling apart for G2 right off the get-go.
It's kind of interesting because that's not the first time we've seen G2 try to make a bot play and then the whole map fall apart. So you think of Yankos on the Volibear when he's pathing top, decides to go for an early bot gank. I think he was against Fnatic. Early bot gank happens, top side falls apart. So feels like maybe they're overforcing a bit too much, and when they've overforced, they don't know how to just tame it back in, give up something, take a step back, and then retake possession of the game because they just keep trying to fix these errors that they've made, and the more they fix it, the more it breaks.
Did feel like perhaps they had a bit of time after that Baron fell to think about what's going to happen in game 4. I will say, Vedi, it's a little bit mean of you to ask Caedrel. You've been in this situation. What would you think when he never made playoffs?
He's been
it's
in
a
best
little
of
bit
fives
rude
before.
to be like,
He's
hey mate, when you were in playoffs, what did you think?
He told me that he played 5 best of 5s over 4 days back to back. So
That's
I feel
impressive.
like I can trust his opinion.
Qualifying
on
for
this
the
subject.
LCS, good times.
See.
Anyway, good playoff stroke, Manic.
Thanks, man. Blue side remains undefeated in this series as Fnatic move on to match point after the break, where we have Goldborg breaking down the early game. You don't want to miss it.
I'll go take a break. Cool.
Even the biggest champ needs a break.